Hey everyone, I'm Nick DiMatteo, and welcome to week 175 of 4T, the Thursday Throwback Track. For those of you who have been reading along for these last 3+ years, you will know that last week I wrote that this week would be my first ever video episode of 4T. This is something I plan to continue indefinitely. For those of you who have not been reading along, who don't know what 4T is or why I keep repeating that, what I do is I take music from my collection. I started out with my cassettes, went through those, and I went through all of my 45s, which are small single discs made of vinyl, for those of you who have no idea what that is, and the related discs, and now I'm onto my LPs, which I will continue to plow through until I get to my CD collection. And I talk about what made or makes that music important to me, certain elements of that music. I might tie it into some larger theme, and then I tie it into a song of my own, and I talk about how that music influenced what I do, and how music in general, all music is related. And my hope there is that we're both learning something, we're both enjoying the music. You get to hear maybe music you haven't heard before, whether it's the music I'm talking about or music of mine. I'm hoping that you are listening to as much as you can of what I post, and or that it's music you have heard before and it's something you're excited about and want to talk about, and that either way, as I end every post, discuss, damn it, I hope that we do have a discussion. And I'm hoping that these video posts create an even larger, more vibrant discussion, because I'm actually physically discussing. But for those of you who do prefer to read or don't have time to watch this entire video, I will be posting the text below, what I call the untranscript, because it will never and is not in any way a word-for-word rendition of what I'm saying right now, because I honestly have no idea what I'm saying right now. What I do continue to do and will do every week is write out my thoughts, as I've been doing, on the release that I'm talking about and on the music of mine that I'm tying to that and all the other things that I tend to write. And I will be posting it under the video. And just so you know, all of these videos will also be posted on YouTube, on my YouTube page, and they will also be posted on my website, nickdimatteo.com. If you go to, I believe it's the video, or go to the actor page, that's what it is. I think it's nickdimatteo.com/acting or actor. It's on my menu. I don't know. I only happen to be the one who created it, and I completely forget. But you'll find it there. You'll find it on YouTube, and you will right now especially find it on Facebook. I believe I might be posting these on Instagram too, but we'll both have to wait and see. So with all of that said, let's get into the actual 175th episode of 4T, the Thursday Throwback Track. Promise you I won't be doing that every week, unless somebody, really loves my fingers. And this week, I thought I'd start out with something easy for me anyway, since it's the first video. It's one of my top 5 bands, and I'm one of those guys who has at least 15 top 5 bands. The Cure, and their seminal release, double album, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. It is an album that hit me the minute it came out. Those of you who are old enough to remember, new music was always released on Tuesdays, and the Tuesday this was released back in 1987, I got it right away. I had already been turned on to The Cure by a good friend of mine, Mike Smith. He was playing songs from my all-time favorite Cure album, Head on the Door. I urge you to listen to that too. And so when Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me came out, I had to get it right away. And it was not at all a disappointment. The Cure is one of the handful of bands from that era that showed me what my music was going to be. It fed directly into my brain, my ears, my subconscious, my heart, and in each way, each of these handfuls of bands had something in common. First of all, let's go with 3. We have The Cure, we have Prince, and we have U2. They all sound very different. What do they have in common? Number one, all of the leaders, or most of the band members, were born about 10 years before I was, so they were kind of like big brothers to me, and mentors, unbeknownst to them, and it really showed me how possible it was to take many disparate influences and congeal them into something new, something innovative. We all probably know, and most of us know, how Prince did that. U2 came from come from a punk and post-punk background. They added cinematic elements and all the other elements, blues and things that they added eventually throughout their career, electronic. The Cure was also punk, post-punk, goth in their own way, but the thing all three of those bands had in common is that they were also pop. And as many of you have heard me say a million times, I revere the pop music form, whether that means music from the classic era of the 1930s, 40s, 50s, or the Beatles, my number one and always will be, eras like that, one-hit wonders, or bands that you might not readily consider to be pop or popular music, but who always strove one way or another to create songs that, and I'm going to read my notes here now, that had emotional depth, musical intelligence, innovation, and accessibility. And the accessibility part, of course, is the pop part. And everything I do, I try to imbue with all of those things. Again, emotional depth, musical intelligence, innovation, accessibility. I believe firmly that U2 did that. The Beatles did that. Let's say the Stones did that, if you're a fan of the Stones. Prince certainly did that. And this week's band, The Cure, absolutely did that. I just read an interview with Robert Smith in Rolling Stone, because they're coming out with 30th anniversary of Disintegration, one of my other favorite albums from them. And he talked about how even when he was teens and 20s, working with Susie and the Banshees and people like that, he always had one of his ears towards the pop music world. So they had, swirling, teeming, sonic, cinematic palettes, very ambient, dark in many ways. And from out of that, and even before that, and including that, came these very tight, strong pop songs that still were able to capture certain key elements of The Cure, which, again, I'm going to read my notes, and what I wrote here is that they were able to express vulnerability. They were a little twee, a little light, a little frothy, a little frivolous. They were dark, often dark. They were playful. It had a sense of humor or just a wordplay, things like that. They were sonically rich, whether it was the way, Robert Smith played guitar, or how the music was produced and arranged, whether they used the, ambience of the keyboards and the guitar and vocals, or added the electronic elements and things like that. And they were catchy. I'm willing to bet that almost all of us know at least one Cure song. Maybe it's Friday, I'm in Love. Maybe it's Just Like Heaven. Maybe it's Love Song, Pictures of You. I don't know. There's a dozen others or more hit singles or lesser songs, B-sides, album tracks, things like that. But one of the reasons why we do is they were diverse. They are diverse. They're still around. They're still creating music. They have a new album coming out soon. And that, again, like U2, like Prince, like so many other of my favorites, it's what I try to do, which is I don't believe in sticking to one single genre or thinking that all of the music that I do has to sound the same, and neither did any of these bands. They might have signature vocals, which hopefully any good artist does, but even then there was and is a lot of diversity in there. Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me is probably, I would say, their most diverse album. It had elements, and again, going back to my notes, it had elements of what I call, or what, Northern Soul. It had elements of goth, of course, of pop, of the kind of college rock, modern rock, what it was called at the time. It had punk. It had electronic. It had ambient and orchestral and cinematic elements as well. In some cases, one song had all of those elements, and in other cases it would bounce from song to song and show off different aspects of things like that. There were three singles from this album that charted in the US and around the world. The first one you may not remember was called Hot Hot Hot. It was a big dance single. There was a dance remix, things like that. It had a great bass section, but it also had a great horn section. It was not quite the usual Cure song, but it was them and Robert Smith in particular kind of branching out and showing a different side. Then there was the big single of the day from this album, Why Can't I Be You? Many of you may know it. It has that kind of really quintessential Robert Smith vocal, kind of vocal breaks he does, those little, mini yodels and things. It's something I do a lot too when my songs call for it. I'm sure that was why or where I got one of the places I got that from. It shows how clever he was and is with wordplay and for the phrases he was using. He could take a phrase that seems like an everyday phrase, turn it into something else, or maybe it wasn't even an everyday phrase, but it became one. And then the third single is Just Like Heaven. It's a song that is, to me, near perfect. It's been covered dozens of times. I have played it live acoustically and with bands many, many, many times. I continue to do that. Just last month I played it solo. I've played it with the band that I work with who does 80s covers, and it's one of my top, again, 5, I guess, favorite Cure songs. I think it's also one of the best songs of that era. I think it probably has outlasted Why Can't I Be You and certainly Hot Hot Hot. And I honestly think it's probably one of the top 100 or 200 greatest songs of all time. You'll find out, if you haven't already discovered this through reading, that I'm not shy about what I believe about music. Music is something that will always mean the absolute most to me, other than the people in my life, other than all my children and the other people I love. It's right up at the top. And so I'm going to kind of let it fly and let you know what I think about things. If you don't agree, I really want to hear it, because that is an awesome way to discuss. If you do agree, let me know too, because there's excitement and passion in finding a kindred spirit. So that said, and all the greatness that is The Cure and Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, let me tie it into a song that I've done. There are a couple dozen songs, easy, that have been influenced by The Cure. I could even say that because they're in my top 5, pretty much every song I've ever done is in some way influenced by them. Doesn't mean that the music sounds at all like them. At times it does. There's a song from my album Parts and Labor, which is everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. I don't know. Pick. It's everywhere. It's been out for a few years now. It's a song I love to play live. I've done it with a full band. I've done it acoustically, and it has a certain there's an emotional pull there that gets to places that I think pop songs can and should often get to. Maybe not always. It has a darkness to it, has a sadness to it, has a brightness to it. It has a dynamism to it that carries throughout the song, and it's called Break You. I can't remember if I said that already. The link is below, and I hope you listen to it. You will probably be able to see how certain elements of the guitar, the vocals, the lyrics, especially the vulnerability in the lyrics, were influenced by The Cure. And bringing it back around to The Cure, as always, I'll talk about my favorite tracks from this album. Here's the back cover. Eerie, yes. I am not going to talk about my favorites this week, sorry, because this is a double album that I have listened to over and over and over again, and although I could probably say, oh, this one, maybe not as favorite, once you get past 10 songs, there's really no point in talking about what your favorites are. So instead, I am going to point out a song that most of you probably don't know, but you really should. It's called How Beautiful You Are. It is a perfect example of what The Cure does best. It's a beautiful song, both lyrically and sonically. It's a song that is both delicate and firm and robust all at the same time. And I think ties in quite well with my song Break You. If you have, let's say, well, I guess it would be about 8 minutes, check out both of those songs. Go ahead and listen to my song Break You. Go ahead and listen to, look up How Beautiful You Are by The Cure. And thank you for watching me and listening to me and reading with me all of these years or just today, and welcome. And as always, until next week, discuss, damn it.